In this particular video presentation, what we're going to do is discuss the whole issue of foreign exchange, the concept of it and how it's determined. Now, when countries engage in international trade, the issue of foreign exchange would always arise. For a country, for instance, country A, to trade with country B, country A would need to acquire, or better yet, purchase the domestic currency of country B so that the goods could now be purchased from suppliers located in country B. Hence, international trade requires the purchasing of currencies, foreign currency that is, between nations. You see, every country does not necessarily use the same currency, and each unit of currency may have a particular purchasing power. As a result of that, when two countries or when individuals of two different countries would like to trade with each other, they must ensure, the person who's purchasing from one country must ensure that they have the currency of the seller who resides in another country, which therefore means that the purchaser from one country has to purchase the currency of the seller, and therefore the buying and selling of foreign currencies give rise to what is known as an exchange rate, which we realize it is the price of foreign currency. So, as we stated there, the price that country A has to pay for $1 of country B's currency will be termed as the exchange rate between country A and country B. Example: if country A pays $6 of their currency for $1 of country B's money, then the exchange rate is 6 to 1. That means 6 units of country A's currency was given up in order to purchase $1 of country B's currency. So the exchange rate between A and B is 6 to 1. Alternatively, it means that country B only has to give up 1/6 of their currency to gain $1 of country A's currency. That is, 1/6 of $1 would be 16 cents. So country B has to give up 16 cents of their currency to acquire $1 of country A's currency. Therefore, the exchange rates can be defined as the price of foreign currency. It is the price of foreign exchange. And foreign currency is needed to facilitate international trade. Now, this concept of foreign exchange, why is foreign currency so important? Why does one country need to purchase the currency of another country? Well, in a video that I did previous, we discussed the whole issue of the balance of payments, and the balance of payments of a country records all the transactions between that country and the rest of the world. And the fact is, countries trade because there are times where the goods and services that the citizens of one country need may not be produced in that country in itself, and therefore they would have to import it from other countries that, of course, would be abroad. And if you have to import, it means you have to acquire the currency of the countries you are importing from. And as long as each of the currencies do not have the same purchasing power, then there will be a difference in the rate of exchange. Hence, currencies have to be purchased simply because each country has a different unit of currency, and because countries are desirous of enjoying the goods and services that may be located elsewhere. The concept of international trade can only occur when foreign exchange takes place. And that's why we're saying here that foreign exchange or foreign currency is needed to facilitate international trade. Now, what happens when one country's goods and services are being demanded in excess of its trading partner? Well, if the goods and services of a country are being demanded in excess of its trading partner, it means that the currency of that said country would increase in its value. Because if people want more and more of this country's goods and services, they will need that country's currency to acquire those goods and services. And therefore, you would see the exchange rate appreciating as one country's currency appreciates. And if your trading partner currencies appreciate, it means relative to yours, your currency has now depreciated. So we are now going to discuss now changes in an exchange rate. So an exchange rate can either appreciate or it could depreciate. And what does this mean? So given that exchange rates is the price of one country's currency, example, country A, in terms of another country's currency, example, country B, then the exchange rate can fluctuate based upon countries A desire to demand goods and services from country B and vice versa. So the more country A demands goods and services from country B, it means country A will need country B's currency, and therefore the price of country B's currency would increase. And therefore it means that the exchange rate, which is the price of foreign currency, will begin to appreciate, will begin to increase due to the increase in demand for country B's goods and services. And therefore, if country B's, the price of their currency increases and therefore there's an appreciation in country B's exchange rate, it therefore means that country A's exchange rate will depreciate, because if country B's currency is appreciating, then country A's currency is depreciating. Alright? So relative to two countries, when one country's currency appreciates, the other currency of that country, of the other country, would depreciate. So, given the exchange rate between country A and country B, that is, the currency of country A divided by the currency of country B, then this can appreciate if country B's demand for country A's exports increase. Alright? So we're seeing that here. So what we're talking about is that the appreciation can take place if country B's demand for country A's exports increase. Alright? Alternatively, if country A increases their demand for country B's exports, then country A's exchange rate would depreciate as the other country, in this case country B, exchange rate appreciates. Now, what is the impact of these changes in exchange rate? Why would a country be concerned when the exchange rate appreciates or depreciates? Well, look what happens. When there's an appreciation of a country's exchange rate, in this case country A, it means A's exports now become more expensive. Put it this way. If another country has to pay more money to get country's A's currency, a unit of country's A's currency, in order to purchase country A's goods and services, it means the goods and services from country A, which will be their exports into the international market, will become more expensive, given that the price to acquire A's currency has increased due to the appreciation in the exchange rate. Alright? Also, the imports, when country A is importing from that country B, we see now that the imports become cheaper, because with an appreciation in country A's exchange rate, it means that the exchange rate for country B would depreciate. It means it's now cheaper, right? Because less money is needed to give up. Less money needs to be given up by the citizens of country A to acquire country B's currency. Or put it this way, for 1 unit of country A's currency, more of country B's currency can be acquired. It therefore means the citizens of country A can get more value for their dollar when they're importing from country B. And that is why, with an appreciation of country A's exchange rate, the exports of country A become more expensive, as their trading partners have to pay more for country A's currency. And A's imports, which is what they buy from the other countries, become cheaper. And that is the implication of an appreciation of an exchange rate. All right. So if exports become more expensive, what's a further implication? Well, the business partners, the clients of country A's firms may no longer want to purchase from country A, and therefore there is a loss in the firm's competitiveness in country A. Country A's firms may lose customers when there is an appreciation in the exchange rate. That's one implication of this appreciation. Now, what is the implication of the increase in imports? Well, if imports become cheaper, let's say, compared to domestic products, it may lead to domestic firms losing sales because consumers are more desirous to purchase abroad than local because of this appreciation in the exchange rate, because imports are now cheaper. This means that if firms are losing sales, firms may have to cut back on production, and if production is cut back, there may be no need to hire as much workers, and therefore unemployment may take place as local firms lose sales, as the sales in imports or as represented by imports from foreign countries increase. And a depreciation of countries A's exchange rate would mean that the exports of country A become cheaper because the price to acquire A's currency has now decreased due to the depreciation. So when there's a depreciation, it means it's cheaper to get country A's currency. And if it's cheaper to get country A's currency, it means it's now cheaper to get the exports from country A. This now may lead to increased competitiveness. The firms in country A may be able to compete better with international firms because their goods are now cheaper because of a depreciation in the exchange rate. And this is beneficial for local firms. It may cause them to gain new business partners abroad. It may cause them, therefore, to expand production and employ more workers, and this will be beneficial for an economy. On the import side, A's imports become more expensive because of this depreciation, because more money needs to be given up by A's residents to acquire B's currency. Now, this could also affect firms in a negative way, because if there are raw materials for firms that are imported, it means that the increased competitiveness may be eroded because of higher costs. So, for instance, while there's less money needs to be acquired by the foreigners to purchase country A's currency, this may be offset by, in terms of the products now increasing in cost, if the raw materials for country A's goods and services are more expensive, and therefore the exports, which would have initially become cheaper, now the price may remain constant, or it may even get more expensive as a result of the need to import more expensive raw materials. So this is the possible implication. With a depreciation in exchange rate, exports become cheaper, but imports become more expensive. And the impact is based upon how a particular country's economy is. If consumers don't import, or if firms don't import much raw materials, then with this import becoming more expensive, it may not be too detrimental to firms, and it may not reduce their competitiveness. So it all depends on the structure of an economy and how citizens' purchasing patterns are. So these are the explanations of the impact of changes in the exchange rate and how it impacts an overall economy.